The slap cracked through the restaurant like a whip. Glasses chimed, knives paused, and faces turned to the corner booth where Victoria's hand hovered above the waitress's reddening cheek. 30 minutes, Victoria hissed. For a salad? Do you think my time is charity? Ella steadied her breath. I'm sorry, ma'am. The kitchen had a delay. Your entree is... Save it. Victoria flicked her nails like dust. You're incompetent. People like you drag the world down. The manager hurried up. Ma'am, please, train your staff, Victoria snapped, snatching her clutch. Or shut this place down. She pivoted, heels clacking across marble. A busboy whispered, You okay? I'm fine, Ella said, though her cheek stung. Sometimes people tell you who they are without meaning to. In her car, she let the silence settle. Her phone buzzed. Dad board briefing tomorrow. Don't be late. She smiled faintly. Wouldn't miss it. Morning. Victoria polished her smile in a mirror. 6 p.m. Harrison dinner, her assistant recited. Final step before the contract. They'll sign, Victoria said. I don't leave rooms without yeses. Mr. Harrison is particular about character, the assistant tried. Character is a costume, Victoria said, fastening a diamond watch. Results are real. Across town, Ella entered Harrison Holdings in jeans and a plain sweater. The lobby screens looped company milestones, but she headed for facilities. Luis, the supervisor, handed her a roll of liners. You don't have to, miss. Ella, she said. Dad wants a floor. Walk before tonight. If bathrooms jam, morale dips. Morale dips. Service slips. Luis grinned. You're the only one here who checks pipes. I'm the daughter who still learns. She pushed a supplies cart into the executive corridor, checking bins, jotting notes. A door opened. Perfume arrived before its owner. Victoria stepped out, gold folder in hand, voice crisp into her phone. Yes, I'm at Harrison now. They need me more than I need them. The plastic liner rustled as Ella lifted a bin bag. Victoria paused, eyes narrowing, recognition lit, then hardened. You, Victoria said, a small smile curling. Of course, cleaning suits you. Ella kept her tone level. Good morning, ma'am. Please watch your step. The floor is damp. Victoria laughed, a blade wrapped in velvet. Is this the full-time gig? Salads by night, scrubbing floors by day? Don't smudge the glass. It's worth more than your car. A junior analyst, Mia, stopped by the copier. Ma'am, I wasn't speaking to you, Victoria said. She pointed at a coffee spill. Start there, and try not to spill your self-pity. It'll be clean in a minute, Ella said. If you're delivering to procurement, it's the second door on the left. Oh, you know the layout? Victoria asked. Did the janitor app come with a map? Mia winced. Please don't. Shh, Victoria said. Some of us have careers. Luis turned the corner. Everything all right? Perfect, Victoria said brightly. Your cleaner was blocking the hall with her attitude. Remind her please and thank you are for the people paying her. Ella tied the bag and lifted it into the cart. Restroom 3 needs a plumber. The faucet handle is loose. I'll log it. Luis nodded, eyes flicking to Victoria, then back to Ella with quiet respect. Ella rolled the cart away. Mia watched her go, then looked at Victoria, disappointment settling into her posture. Do you talk to everyone like that? Mia asked softly. Only to people who earn it, Victoria said. Kindness is for peers. In the service elevator, Ella exhaled and typed a note to herself. Test patience when provoked. Don't mirror cruelty. Late afternoon, the lobby filled with footsteps. Victoria's meeting ended. She glided through security, satisfied with how she'd claimed the space. Outside, the car park stretched quiet and sun, warm. Ella stepped from a side exit with a tote, moving with unhurried calm. Victoria, leaning on her car, looked up and did a crisp double take. Still here? She called. I thought cleaners clocked out earlier. I'm waiting for a ride, Ella said. A ride? Victoria echoed, smirking. From the bus schedule? Be careful. The curb is allergic to ambition. Headlights swept the lot. A black sedan rolled to the loading zone. The driver stepped out, straightened his jacket, and opened the rear door. Miss Harrison, he said. Your father asked me to remind you. Dinner is at 6, and he'll meet you there. The words hung. Mia, leaving with folders, heard them clean as a bell. Luis paused at the door. The security guard shifted. Victoria's smile flickered. Miss Harrison? Ella turned, calm. Good evening. The driver took her tote and offered an umbrella, though no rain fell. "Route is set," he murmured. Victoria laughed too brightly. "Cute. Part of the cleaner cosplay? Do they let you pretend at night?" The driver looked at Victoria with practiced politeness. Ella's eyes softened, not in pity or triumph, just in truth. "It's all right," Ella told him. Then to Victoria, "You'll be at dinner?" "Of course," Victoria said, recovering a sliver of control. "I'm the reason dinner is happening." "Then we'll see each other," Ella said, and slid into the car. The door closed with a soft final click. The sedan glided away, taillights drawing red commas across the dusk. In the hush, Mia stared at Victoria, then shook her head slightly. Heat crawled up Victoria's throat. Metal tinged her tongue. "She's Harrison?" Victoria muttered, as if wrong syllables could make it untrue. She opened her phone, typed, erased, typed again. Mia found her voice. "Sometimes the person you step on is the one holding the elevator button." Victoria stared at the exit where the sedan vanished. She lifted her chin. "It doesn't matter," she said, trying to sound like steel. "Business is business. Tonight I deliver they sign, and everyone forgets small things." But small no longer fit inside her mouth. That night, the city lights blurred past Victoria's window as her driver maneuvered through traffic. She sat rigid in the back seat, her nails drumming against her phone screen. The words replayed in her mind asterisk, "Miss Harrison. Dinner at 6. Asterisk, impossible." The girl had to be bluffing. Maybe she was dating one of the Harrison staff, or maybe she just borrowed the name. But then again, that driver, the way he spoke, the car, the tone. Her assistant's voice snapped her out of thought. "Everything all right, ma'am?" Victoria forced a laugh. "Of course. Just running numbers in my head." But she wasn't running numbers. She was running scenarios. When they pulled up to the Harrison estate later that evening, she smoothed the nerves out of her expression and put her best smile on. The mansion's facade glowed in soft amber light, exuding old money and quiet power. "Perfect," she whispered to herself. "Play it calm. Play it confident. Business as usual." Inside, the house was buzzing with polished chatter. Waiters moved between clusters of suited executives, and laughter rippled under the crystal chandeliers. Victoria walked in like she owned the air. Richard Harrison, the man himself, approached her with a warm smile. "Miss Victoria, it's a pleasure to finally meet you in person." "The pleasure's all mine, Mr. Harrison," she said smoothly, shaking his hand. "Your company's reputation precedes you," he chuckled. "I should hope so. We like to think we're building more than profit, we're building people." That word times people times felt like a dart. Victoria ignored the sting and gestured to the folder she carried. "I've brought the final proposal. I think you'll find it both profitable and forward-thinking." "I'm sure we will," Richard said. "But before we dive into contracts, let's enjoy dinner. My daughter insisted on hosting tonight. She loves meeting our potential partners." Victoria's breath hitched. "Your daughter?" "Yes," he said proudly. "Ella." He motioned toward the grand staircase. Victoria turned just in time to see Ella descending slowly, dressed in an elegant cream gown that shimmered under the light. Every step was measured, graceful, deliberate. Their eyes met. Ella's expression didn't change. She offered a small, polite smile. But to Victoria, it felt like the floor tilted beneath her. Richard clapped lightly. "Miss Victoria, meet Ella Harrison, my daughter." Victoria's voice faltered. "We've met." Ella extended her hand. "Yes, we have. Though I think this time, no apron, no cleaning gloves." A flicker of shock swept through the guests nearby, though they pretended not to notice. Richard laughed, oblivious to the tension. "She's been helping around our properties lately. Says it helps her understand people better." Ella's gaze stayed locked on Victoria. Some lessons are harder to teach than others. Victoria forced a laugh that barely made it past her throat. "Ah, right. Always good to get hands-on experience." They moved to the dining table. As conversations resumed, Victoria tried to anchor herself, but her appetite was gone. Every time Ella spoke, every time the others praised her intelligence, the shame twisted deeper inside Victoria's chest. When the waiter poured her wine, her hand trembled slightly. She masked it with a cough. Across the table, Ella engaged a board member in conversation about ethics in leadership. Her tone was calm but pointed, and her words carried weight. People don't follow titles. They follow character. Very true, Richard said proudly. It's a principle we live by. Victoria smiled stiffly, stabbing at her salad. Character's a luxury in business sometimes. Ella's eyes flicked to her. Or maybe it's the real currency, the one that doesn't devalue. There was a pause, then polite laughter around the table, everyone assuming it was casual banter. But Victoria felt the invisible knife in every word. As the meal continued, her mind spiraled. Should she apologize now? Should she explain? Or pretend none of it happened? But what would Ella say if she brought it up? The sound of her own name pulled her back. Miss Victoria, Richard said kindly. Ella mentioned you two met at one of our restaurants. What did you think of the service? Victoria froze. It was the question she'd been dreading. Her mouth opened, but no words came. It was memorable, she said finally, her voice tight. I'm glad to hear that, Richard said, unaware of the storm beneath the surface. Ella's got a knack for spotting people's true nature. You wouldn't believe how many lessons she's learned there. Oh, I might have an idea, Ella said lightly, never breaking eye contact. Victoria forced another brittle smile. Yes, I'm sure she has. By dessert, Victoria could barely breathe. She excused herself from the table under the pretense of taking a business call and escaped into the corridor. Her hands shook as she pressed against the cool wall. What do I do? She whispered. What if she tells him? Tell him what? The voice came from behind her, steady, familiar. Ella stood in the hallway, arms crossed loosely, no hostility in her posture, only calm observation. Victoria swallowed hard. Ella, listen, about the other day, I didn't know who you were. I thought you were just a waitress? No, I mean yes, but not like that, Ella raised a hand gently. You don't have to explain. I already understand. Then, you know I didn't mean to humiliate you. You meant to put me in my place, Ella said quietly. You just didn't know where my place really was. Victoria's lips trembled. Please, I need this deal. I've worked for months. My company's future depends on it. Ella's expression softened slightly. It's not my deal to decide. Then please don't tell your father what happened. I'm begging you. I'm not interested in ruining anyone, Ella said. But I do believe in truth, and my father values honesty more than charm. Victoria stepped forward, desperate. I'll do anything. I'll apologize publicly. Apologies aren't currency, Ella interrupted. Change is. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Finally, Ella sighed. I'll tell you what. Go back in there, present your proposal, and let your work speak. If it's good, maybe that's enough. Victoria blinked. You'd let this go? I'm not interested in revenge, Ella said softly. But I don't control what karma decides. Then she turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing faintly down the marble hall. Victoria stood frozen, relief mixed with dread she'd been given a chance, but she could feel the floor cracking beneath her confidence. When she returned to the dining room, Richard smiled warmly. Ah, there you are. We were just discussing your proposal. Ella says it's very ambitious. Victoria forced a bright tone. Ambition is what drives progress, Mr. Harrison. Indeed, he said. We'll review the documents tonight. The board meets tomorrow morning to finalize. She nodded, smiling, though her stomach knotted tighter. As she stepped out into the night air after dinner, she exhaled shakily. She'd survived the evening. Barely. Her driver opened the car door, but she hesitated. Through the mansion windows, she could see Ella laughing with her father, easy, natural, radiant. It hit her then. No amount of money could buy that kind of peace. As the car pulled away, the city lights looked harsher, colder. Her reflection in the window looked like someone she didn't quite recognize. She whispered to herself, I'll fix this. I'll prove I'm better than that moment. But part of her new karma wasn't finished yet, and neither was Ella. The next morning came gray and heavy, as though the sky itself sensed the storm waiting to break. Victoria barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ella's calm stare, that unwavering composure. It was unbearable. She'd faced rivals, hostile investors, and failed deals before, but never shame. By the time she arrived at Harrison Holdings, her nerves were wound tight enough to snap. She adjusted her blazer, plastered on a professional smile, and walked into the gleaming lobby as though nothing could touch her. But deep down, her heart was pounding. "Miss Victoria," the receptionist greeted politely. "The board meeting will begin in 15 minutes, Mr. Pound. Harrison and Miss Harrison are already inside." "Thank you," she said, voice steadier than she felt. In the mirrored elevator, she caught her reflection, flawless makeup, pristine suit. But her eyes looked haunted. She whispered under her breath, "Smile. Win the room." Then disappear. The doors opened. The conference room was a cathedral of glass and light. A long table stretched across the room, lined with board members, investors, and advisors. Richard Harrison sat at the head, with Ella beside him, her calm expression unreadable. "Miss Victoria," Richard said warmly. "Glad you could join us." She nodded and set her folder on the table. "Thank you, sir. It's an honor." As she began presenting her proposal, her voice regained its rhythm. Charts, profits, forecasts, numbers had always been her safe ground. The language of logic. She leaned on it like armor. But every time she glanced up, Ella's eyes were there patient, observing, reminding her of who she'd been yesterday. When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then Richard nodded slowly. "It's impressive, Miss Victoria. Truly. But before we make any decisions, I'd like to hear Ella's thoughts." Ella folded her hands gently. "The proposal is strong, but I'm more interested in the values behind it." Victoria's stomach clenched. Ella continued, voice calm and even. "Your company has achieved growth quickly, Miss Victoria. That's admirable. But tell me, how do you lead your team? What's your principle when things go wrong?" The question seemed innocent, but Victoria felt the heat crawl up her neck. I believe in discipline, efficiency. I don't tolerate mediocrity." "And when someone makes a mistake?" Ella asked. "How do you respond?" "I correct it," Victoria said, a touch too sharp. "Swiftly." Ella nodded. "With patience or punishment?" A murmur went around the room. Victoria's pulse thudded. "With professionalism," she said carefully. "Every good leader must demand excellence." Ella tilted her head slightly, eyes soft but piercing. "Even if that means humiliating someone?" Richard frowned. "Ella, what are you getting at?" Victoria's voice broke before she could stop it. "Mr. Harrison, But Ella raised a hand gently. "It's fine. I'll explain." She turned toward the board. "Yesterday, Miss Victoria and I met by coincidence. Not in an office, not at a meeting, at one of our restaurants. She didn't know who I was. She thought I was a waitress." Gasps rippled around the table. Victoria's breath hitched. "Ella, please." Ella's voice remained calm, even kind. She was angry about a delayed order. "She hit me." The room froze. A few board members exchanged stunned looks. Richard's expression hardened, disbelief flickering across his face. "What?" "She apologized later," Ella added quickly, "and I accepted it. But I thought it was important to mention, because character doesn't begin when you walk into a boardroom. It begins when no one's watching." The silence was heavy. Victoria's heart pounded in her ears. "Mr. Harrison, please let me explain. I didn't know." "That's exactly the point," Ella said softly. "You didn't know. And you didn't care. I don't want to ruin you, Miss Victoria. But this company was built on respect for clients, for staff, for everyone. My father taught me that leadership without compassion is just control." Richard's jaw tightened. He looked at Victoria, disappointment clouding his eyes. "Is this true?" Victoria's throat closed. The room blurred. She forced the words out. "Yes, it happened, and I regret it more than I can say." Richard leaned back, silent for a long moment. Then he exhaled deeply. "I appreciate your honesty, but I can't in good conscience move forward with a partnership that contradicts what we stand for." Her knees went weak. "Please, Mr. Harrison." "I'm sorry," he said gently, but firmly. "We'll pass on the proposal." The sound of the decision landed like a hammer. The other board members avoided her eyes. The meeting moved on without her, voices fading into a hum. She stood slowly, her vision trembling at the edges. "I understand," she whispered, gathering her papers with shaking hands. "Thank you for your time." Ella watched her quietly, sadness in her eyes. As Victoria turned to leave, she spoke one last time. "Miss Victoria, Victoria paused at the door. "I meant what I said," Ella said. "I don't want revenge, but I do hope you'll see that the people you look down on are the same ones who could change your life." Victoria nodded faintly, unable to speak, and walked out. Outside the building, the sky had opened up. Rain poured hard and cold, soaking her in seconds. She didn't run. She just stood there, head tilted up, letting the water blur her mascara and wash the last of her pride away. For the first time in years, she felt something real humility. Weeks passed. Her company took a hit from the failed contract. Some investors pulled out. Others stayed, believing in her talent, but warning her to rebuild her image. It wasn't easy. Each day forced her to face the version of herself she'd tried to forget. One rainy afternoon, she found herself back at that same restaurant. No press, no cameras. Just her, standing by the entrance. The manager looked startled. "Miss Victoria, we didn't expect—" "I'm not here to complain," she said quietly. "I'm here to apologize to everyone I've hurt here." She waited tables that evening. Not for publicity, not for show, just to learn what it felt like to serve instead of demand. And somewhere between clearing dishes and refilling glasses, she began to understand the peace that came with humility. 2 weeks later, she saw Ella again. The younger woman was inspecting the restaurant with her father, smiling as they walked. Victoria hesitated, then approached slowly. "Miss Harrison." Ella turned, surprise flickering across her face before softening into a smile. "Miss Victoria." "I just wanted to say thank you," Victoria said, "for what you said that day. You were right. I wasn't leading. I was controlling. I've changed how I run things and how I treat people." Ella studied her face, searching for sincerity. She found it. "I believe you." They stood there a moment longer, two women from opposite worlds, both changed by the same lesson. As they parted, Victoria smiled, not in triumph or pride, but peace. "Maybe one day we'll work together again." Ella returned the smile. "Maybe we already are just on different sides of the same truth." Victoria left the restaurant, her steps light for the first time in years. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Sometimes, karma doesn't destroy you, it rebuilds you. And that night, somewhere between the glow of the streetlights and the hum of the city, Victoria finally understood that true power wasn't in the hand that slapped, but in the one that forgave. If this story touched you, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness become the biggest lessons of all.